Welcome to episode 5 of the BCTV podcast. This is not the BCPP podcast. That's a different one. We don't want to watch that one.
Yeah,
glad to see you guys. Glad you guys. Yeah. We're really glad to have you here. We are featuring one of our fantastic moderators, Ghal416, also a fantastic member of the Twitch community. He is one of the best. He is known as the Oracle in many streams. He just knows everything about these retro games. He is a wonderful guy. I am very pleased to announce him, and I'm very pleased to be highlighting you today, Ghal416. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine. Glad to be on the podcast today.
Oh, we're really glad to have you here. We're really glad to have you here. How are you guys doing, Chardmont, Captain Dark? Don't forget our co-hosts.
I get to sit next to my favorite guy on here, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I have to be catty corner. I'm kind of jealous. He's like way down there.
We get to look up at you
I
guys.
can touch him though. There we go. There you go. Ew, bad touch. How you doing, Dark?
Musical chairs.
Musical
I'm good
chairs.
today.
Yeah,
Today's been a bad day. Just a lot of snow and shit.
Yeah, it's kind of snowing crazy here. It's not.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit. It's kind of been wet and nasty. I'm not liking it. And we got freaking Gall down there in Florida being like, "What's snow?"
I haven't seen snow in like what 15, 25 years.
50, 25 years. Right. Yeah. So I guess
do math.
Yeah.
A lot of rain.
Yeah. Has anybody got anything they want to open up with, or should we just jump right into it?
Let's just dive in, baby.
Dive in. All right. So we're going to be featuring Gall. Gall, I think we'll just start with some simple questions like, how did you get started into gaming?
Oh wow. So I mean, gaming for me actually began through my uncle. He really was the inspiration to me that really got me started in a lot of the different genres, whether it's platforming, action adventure, RPGs. I mean, he was really the catalyst to really getting me to understand what video games were and, you know, all that they could be and how fun they were. One of the funny stories that I didn't know about because I was too young at the time, but he said to me, and my mom also told me the same story, was that when I was very little, probably like either a newborn or a toddler, he was playing Mega Man 2 for the NES.
Nice.
And on the intro screen, when, you know, it's climbing up the building and it shows Mega Man at the very top with his hair, you know, flowing in the
wind. Yeah.
Everything.
Love it.
And just, yes, one of the best intro sequences to any video game.
Oh, I agree.
When Mega Man beamed away, they say that when I looked at that, I actually smiled through the pacifier. My mother actually said that's when you knew a gamer was born. At that very moment.
It's one of the cutest things in the world when you see a little kid with the pacifier and you see that big grin behind the pacifier. That's so adorable.
And it was over Mega Man, you know, which turned out to be, you know, is still one of my favorite franchises.
Oh, sure.
Of video games to this day. But it all started, I guess, from there, you know, because that's really the earliest story I've heard from my parents and from my uncle when it comes to gaming. From then, you know, I really watched, for a lot of my early years, I really watched him play pretty much a lot of different games, the Zeldas, the Marios, the Mega Mans, you know, the Gradius. I was really like some shoot 'em ups.
Nice.
You know, all different types of things that I was really, you know, loved to play. But for some reason, when I was really young, I had this thing like, that's what my uncle does. And I just, you know, sit there and watch.
Yeah.
And that all changed when he played Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo.
Such a great one.
I think I was 7, I believe, when that came out.
Okay.
7 or 8 or somewhere around there. And
early 90s.
I don't know what it was. You know, it was whether it was the music, whether it was just the thrill of exploration, whether it was, you know, the presentation, you know, or maybe just all the above. It just really hit all the right notes for me. Like, it really just was like, I want to play this. So that was the first instance where I said to my uncle, can I play this? And he was, you know, more than thrilled. He was like, of course. And,
nice.
you know, of course, I stunk the bed, you know, right away, playing it, you know,
first time having the controller in your hand.
I think the first time I played the game, I think I faced Dragon in like Meridia, and I didn't know the tools of how to face him. And if you don't, he's a really tough boss to really take on and everything. So, you know, no, what was it, bud?
Oh, I was gonna say, when you first started playing, did he just hand you the controller then, or did he start up a brand new game for you where you started right at the beginning of the game?
right from the actual game. Like I was playing whatever file he was playing.
Okay.
And at the time he was playing, he was well into the game. So I
yeah,
mean, it
that's
wasn't
what it sounded like.
away
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah.
And I think I was fine with that because I just wanted to play what he was playing. I didn't really have at the time an idea that, look, I wanted to start, right away from the beginning. That would eventually come.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was just playing, and of course it didn't go well the first time when it happened, and which kind of leads to an interesting story actually, because some people like to even when I was at work, when I would talk to people about, because they would find out I played video games,
Right.
And they would be like saying, I think they'd say jokingly, like, do you ever throw your controller when you have, those kinds of moments and things like that? And I'd always say, funny enough, I never actually find myself throwing controllers or doing stuff. And they're like, what? They were kind of like surprised, like, really? How do you deal with your frustration? I say, well, I get frustrated, yes, but there was an interesting story from that first moment of Super Metroid when I was playing, that when Dragon killed me, I actually got pissed and I threw the controller.
I was gonna say I threw the controller. I remember doing that. Yeah.
Like I just threw. Fortunately, the ground was carpet, so I didn't break it or anything.
Good. Yeah.
But I threw it really, really hard. And
them old controllers, man, they could take a beating, man. I remember them NES controllers. We used to chuck them fuckers across the room all the damn time.
Because
I'd get up, they were fine. Yeah.
I have a graveyard of NES and Sega controllers from my temper tantrum.
Oh, wow. I've never managed. The only controller I've ever broke was a PS3 controller when I threw it one time. And that was the last controller I ever threw. I just want to point that out.
Oh, damn. And that's pretty interesting considering Sony tends to be pretty good about that kind of stuff. I'm actually kind of surprised it would be broken like that.
I went right up against the wall.
Am I the only one that's never thrown a controller?
You haven't?
No, I haven't.
Well, la-di freaking da.
I'll get mad at games, but I've never thrown a controller. I've never launched a controller. I felt like it. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I'm always sitting there like, how the fuck am I going to replace this shit? So I never thrown a controller.
That's why I stopped after I broke the PS3 controller, because I had to buy a new one. I was like, oh, oops.
Yeah, my rage is blinded by doesn't give a shit of what has to happen to get something new.
You're one of those guys that just sees red.
Oh, action then regret. That's usually my trait.
I go through that myself sometimes. Yeah.
No, absolutely. But getting back to it, so what happened is that his response to that was, okay, we're going to turn the game off. We're going to take a moment to collect ourselves and everything, and we just stood there. If as a kid it felt like forever, but we probably only stood there for I don't know, maybe a minute or two just to calm.
Sure.
And I felt so embarrassed because I looked up to him, I saw him as this thing, is wow, I have never in my life ever saw him have a frustrating moment like that. So I felt wow, I lost control. So from that experience, I never had that loss of control. I do get frustrated. Sure. Don't get me wrong. As I mean, I you've seen it in the chats or whatever anything goes on. I definitely have an opinion about stuff when it's really, really bad. Chart knows that, and you know that, and everyone that I talk to, everyone knows that Dark. He has heard it in tons of times too, about whenever I have an opinion about something about, either in Final Fantasy or so forth. I definitely do it, but it never gets to the point where I have an episode like that. And one of those is because of that experience. He
taught you a good lesson. Yeah. See, he was calm with you. He just said, let's take a moment and let's think about it. And you had that time to process it, versus if it would have been my dad growing up, he would have been like, what the hell are you doing throwing that control? You don't mention those things. Okay. It would have been a big thing,
Yeah, exactly.
Versus he actually used it as a teaching moment, which helps you a lot more than, a parent. I know he's your uncle, but a parent being frustrated about it.
There's a cat in Chartmark's picture.
No, that is not where. What? I can't.
Oh, it was a dog. Okay.
It's a puppy.
Well, shit, I seen something moving. I thought it was a cat. My bad.
Oh,
and second of all, Bud, you got words when you threw controllers? Because I got my ass beat. There was no talking.
Yeah.
There was a bell coming down, and I heard you hear the little jingle at the loop. I was like, oh.
He couldn't do that because he had thrown the controller once before, and I saw him do it.
No.
I got the how much that cost speech. I played with broken controllers for a long time.
Yeah, luckily I didn't break any of mine growing up.
You're gonna play with it that way, and
yeah.
Why not?
Well, with mine, it was just So we all had those different experiences for us. It was either, do you know how this caused you? Oh, I guess you're just going to have to play with it. In mine, it was just kind of, let's just sit here and reflect over what just happened.
And who's the one that never threw a controller again? I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
Like I said, I never threw a controller, but I would get frustrated. When I got frustrated, I heard tingles, and tingles meant ass whoopings.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Oh, I got my share of ass whoopings, but never over the controller, oddly enough.
But so that was my intro to it. That
Nice.
Like Super Metroid, as you could see, was formative in so many ways.
Right.
Not just just getting me into video games, but also a good teaching moment of just learning how to deal with adversity, with frustration, and things, which are good lessons.
Absolutely.
I think that anyone can take away from it of how best to deal with those kind of struggles.
Absolutely.
And that way. So for all those out there who think video games can't have teaching moments, just
absolutely they can. Absolutely they can. Absolutely can. So you Metroid was your start. I mean, your start was actually watching your uncle, and admiring the gameplay through him, or enjoying the gameplay through him, and then Super Metroid was the one where you actually got to pick up the controller for the first time and start playing. How did it go? How did it evolve from there?
Well, I mean, for a while it was basically Super Metroid was a big part of it. So, but there was also, I crossed over into, the Zeldas, the Marios, and I also played Gradius and others. It was mostly platformers, action adventure, or shooters that really at first were the genres I really went with, which honestly were those first few years. And then probably only a little bit after that, which I'm sure many of you might know where this is going if you know where my name based off of. You see, Chard's already
Chard knows
there. Because within that time, I happened to see my uncle play the game that actually introduced me to JRPGs and got me to really, understand video gaming from another angle, and really got me to see like what they could be, beyond just, I mean, we all play it for, gameplay is really significant. It's really important that you enjoy playing the game. I mean, if you don't, then, you don't pick it up. So gameplay, of course, is very important.
Absolutely.
But there's just something that this game did, and of course others afterwards, that just showed that games could, involve something that stayed with you.
Right.
Like even after you turned it off and everything, there was something about how it engaged with you.
Right. Now, you mentioned JRPG.
Kind of
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that game, and go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say you had mentioned that you went into JRPGs, and I may have missed it, but did you say what the name of the game was? Your first JRPG?
I was about
to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I bet I know what it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to hear Ghal say it though.
Talked about it ad nauseum. The game. Funny enough, it was the sequel, Lunar 2 Eternal Blue, for the Sega CD.
Yes.
Nice.
And in that game, I mean, at first it's funny because people are like, oh, you're this big fan, you really, appreciate the story, the characters and everything. And what I always say is, it's funny enough, when I first saw it as a kid, I actually didn't, like, I actually joked about it because it was actually my sister who was a big fan of the game first.
Oh, okay.
And she really took to it right away. But I always was like, oh, it's so like full of drama. I was a little
teasing your sister. Yeah, like kids do. Sure.
And, I was doing that for a bit. But what's funny is when I sat down, because she said to me, hey, if you sat down and watched it, you'd like it too. And
sure, yeah.
Sure enough, when I actually sat down and watched the game and I saw like what was there, like I fell in love. Right. It was just really, really good. Like everything about it, the music, the main characters, the setting, everything about it just really hooked me. In a way that from then on, I guess it kind of spoiled me, because then, a lot of other games, I was always kind of looking for that same engagement. And a lot of the best FFs, Final Fantasies, do that definitely in their own way. But other genres as well, other games, Dragon Quest or other things, they all have different takes on it. But for me, Lunar has always been that game that always found a way that when you're playing it, or at least when I was playing it, I always felt like I was sort of there with the cast of characters. Like you felt like when they were saying goodbye, you felt when they were talking about different stuff, that you felt like these were real, like these were actual individuals that you were talking about. So it felt like you were going away from something. And it's just, and again, maybe it's just because of at the time, it just felt very larger than life, being a kid yourself.
Sure. Yeah, those games, again, really, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say those games, those
Lunar
Lunar games, always really did look appealing to me. Although I've never played one, I do plan to change that at some point in the near future. I want to do the what is it, Silver Star Story? I think is the name of it.
Yeah,
that was the one. That's the one that I've seen gameplay of that kind of piqued my interest in the series. I haven't watched that much of it, but I just know that the graphics and the music and the voice acting was cheesy, but that was kind of part of the charm of it. Yeah, that was part of the charm. It's the charm of it. Yeah, and I definitely, and it had some great cutscenes. Looking at it was a PS1 release that I saw. I don't know if they had releases on other systems, but yeah, those games look so gorgeous. I definitely could see why you were drawn to them.
It was first released on the. Oh, go ahead, Dark. Sorry.
I was just about to say the actual first one that I played, and I remember this pretty well because I was a little salty. But the first one I played was Lunar 2 Eternal Blue of the Lunar series. It was on the PS1. And the PS1 actually, Lunar 2 Eternal Blue Complete is what it's called. You get this little medallion. I forgot the character's name. I remembered it like a month ago. Lucia's pendant. You get Lucia's pendant in the box of Lunar 2. Oh my fucking God. And I even bought one years later and it disappeared. But I used to have Lucia's pendant. Oh my God, my second grade teacher snatched that shit from me. And all I was doing was wearing it.
Oh,
but
wow.
Holy shit. Yes, my second grade teacher literally snatched that shit from me. And I found one years later, and then we had a whole house, or not a house fire, but a kitchen fire, and that shit disappeared again. Yeah, that's been fun.
Why did she snatch it from you? Because
she said it was supposedly distracting. It was not. I wasn't even playing with it. I just wore it. She said as long as I wore it, I was fine. But I think what happened was my cousin said something. Oh, he's playing with the pendant, and she took it. I was like, dude, really?
Wow.
I think
saying you were being disruptive with it. Oh, that sucks.
I was jealous. Raise hell.
Yeah.
I was ready.
I would have been so pissed.
And you didn't get it back. She didn't give it back to you at the end of the day?
She gave it to her niece or nephew.
What?
We're talking about
what?
Yeah.
What?
It's outright robbery.
Yeah, literally. I got robbed of Lucia's pendant. So now I will still be looking for it. I'm gonna actually look for a complete set, but I would love to have Lucia's pendant.
You're not looking for her niece or whatever. Get it back.
Lucia is forever alone on the blue star now. Thanks, teacher.
Thanks, teacher.
Right.
Way to go.
But holy shit, that pendant is nice though.
You condemned her to eternal solitude.
Right.
It's nice though. But yeah, that was my introduction to the actually in the same room as where I played it at. I remember having my little TV right here. Had my little CRT's TV sitting right here with my PlayStation 1 hooked up, and I popped in Lunar 2 because I got it for Christmas, and I looked at the map forever because you get a little map in there as well. I missed that forever.
Yeah.
I bet.
I finally played the game. I was like, I put in the wrong disc. I put in like disc 2. I was like, oh, this disc 2, 3. I said, I'm about to pop one of these in there. It said, no, please insert disc 1. I said, oh, all right, my bad.
God, I miss. Go ahead. I thought you were finished.
I popped in this one and like you said, amazing graphics, music.
Yeah.
I didn't get too far into it, but I definitely played it. It was amazing.
Super impressive. I miss when games used to come with all the materials, all the maps and things like that. Some of them still do. Like GTA games still give you a map and things like that. But it used to be every game you got like a really nice, beautiful color manual, and you got, if it needed a map, you got a map, or maybe even a journal to write notes in and stuff like that. Especially when you talk about the big box PC games. Yeah, Myst. Yes, Myst. That's what I was thinking of when I said that. Yeah. But I really missed that.
Now you're paying like $100 for that shit with the steel art books and shit just to get everything with it.
Right.
$60 game.
The collector's edition.
The collector's edition. Right. That used to just be default what you got, right?
Right.
That was so great. Yeah.
Zelda, was it Zelda 1 that came with a fucking full-size map in the original with the gold?
Zelda came with a full-size map. I don't have the map, but I have the manual.
Yeah.
I believe it did come with something because there's nothing in the game.
Like, Zelda 1 came with the map. Well, Zelda 1
had nothing, but it did come with one.
The map was not complete though. It gave you like maybe 70% of the map, and the rest was blank because that was the mystery part. But it gave you like a good start to it. Yeah.
Well, you had that whole section that you had to navigate, the right way to get through it. And I know that was blocked off, but I know that it came with the fucking that little gold map. Yeah, right there.
This is the manual. I don't have the map. I just have the manual, but it's got this. Yeah. It's kind of it's behind the story, the lore. You get a little bit of a map of Hyrule.
You don't get stuff like that. I mean, you barely find physical copies of games anywhere nowadays.
Look at that artwork.
Now mostly it's digital.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all digital stuff. Yeah. So yeah,
But
cool
you know,
stuff.
I mean, now it's like the idea of even owning a game is just so different now.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
like you don't
everything's
even have
digital.
it like physically. It's just there.
Yeah, I much
Right.
prefer the physical. Yeah.
Oh, I would rather buy like the cartridges.
Any day. Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
why
getting the
if I have a
download on-
choice, PS4, when I buy PS4 games, I always go physical.
Right. I mean, listen, I'm lazy. I get it. And if I want something now, I like instant gratification. So just being like, install now, I'll buy it. Cool, it's downloaded. But I would rather go out and like find the actual like the deal.
I do digital too. Yeah.
The 10 case of Final Fantasy 12, like the special edition. I bought that thing somewhere.
Yeah,
in one of my mini boxes.
Oh, the good old days. So yeah, Lunar really looks like a fantastic series.
It is,
and I definitely want to get into that
Definitely
someday.
should check it out.
Yeah. All right, Ghal, that's very awesome, man. So yeah, where do we go from there?
Well, I mean, Lunar. Well, again, so Lunar really started off my intro with RPGs, with JRPGs, and getting to see, how, they as a genre really worked in a lot of ways. And it was, a great experience, but it really, funny enough, like, I don't think I really played a lot of at least the Sega CD version. I did play some parts of it or what have you, but for the most part, it was me, again, watching my uncle really play it and just, enjoying the story, enjoying the way about it. I mean, another thing that I really liked about the game and, Working Designs, which handled the localization of the game in the United States and outside of Japan, they sort of have a mixed record about it. You'll get different opinions on how they are, but the one thing I think that they did really good, especially in their localization, is they really took the time to really flesh out a lot of the NPC dialogue that was in a lot of the towns. So to me, Chard knows where some of this goes, and I can definitely see where sometimes it ends up being really kind of weird because they like to partake in a lot of pop culture references, which unfortunately dates the game, which is funny.
I would
there are times
yeah.
where it's really funny, but the other thing that I really like about it was that in a lot of games, as you know, I mean, NPCs are kind of given, they're just there, but a lot of times I feel like developers kind of, in a lot of games, just kind of put them in there. We need to have someone in there to just like say some stuff, and then you put in other stuff, to
kind
go
of like
on.
filler.
In Lunar, like there are a lot of times where I would go through entire cities and literally just talk to everybody because it would just be like different personalities, different things. It was just a lot of fun just to have this idea that these different people that were outside of your group were having their own dreams, their own aspirations, their own things going on. It really made the world that much more alive.
Really fleshed it out, didn't it?
Yeah. This living, breathing world that you were going for. And to me, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I especially like it, because like when I go through it, I feel like I'm taking the time to really take it in and really enjoy, where it is, instead of just speeding it through, which in a lot of other games, you just kind of feel that way because the NPCs really just don't have anything meaningful to really say.
It's kind of uninteresting,
in most conversation. But in that one especially, I mean, that's one thing I'll give Working Designs. There are other times where they've done silly things, and I could go into that. I mean, I have a couple of times where they did something and it's kind of like, really, why did you do that?
Go into it if you'd like to.
Most of the time, I mean, well, I think Chard saw this, especially when I was pointing it out, but like there's this one part of the game where you're going up a tower to see somebody, and when you're going in, there's a door that has this like poster next to it that in the Japanese version gave you the actual sequence of rooms you had to go through to get to where you needed to go. But for some reason, Working Designs thought the bright idea was, let's change that poster from giving directions to the player to being a joke about the person being stinky. Dirty or something. So
what?
The player doesn't get So the player,
they went from giving you directions to making jokes about somebody's BO.
Well, no, the guy's a hermit. And he's very reclused in this tower.
Well, sure. So obviously,
everybody, he's weird. So they made a comment about how bizarre and how he smells bad, and he's an odd bird. But the whole point was that map is supposed to give you a clue on how to get through the puzzle to get to him, but it doesn't give you that. So
it tells you to follow your nose.
I know what the hell I'm doing. I'm like, I'm gonna be fucking lost in this place forever, and that's where Ghal steps in.
That's where God, the
And I
Oracle,
literally
comes in.
told
yeah.
him, "Oh, this is the sequence," and he's like, "Really?" I'm like,
Would've
"Yeah,
never known
the
that.
game doesn't tell you. Like,
Right.
it literally doesn't tell you what you're supposed to do." And since there are like 5 different rooms, like there's one for the moon, one for the star, one for the sun. There's one for like different astrological symbols. That's like thousands of different combinations that you
Right.
could potentially do before you find the right one.
Wow. I gotta love that cryptic shit, right? But the funny thing about it
Yeah.
is it wasn't cryptic, and then they made it cryptic.
Yep.
Yeah, and the
That's-
funny thing is, if you have the official strategy guide, they literally like make a thing of, "Oh, this is the sequence you need to do."
Mhm.
It's like, so wait a minute, so you changed it for this reason, right? So that
Mhm.
people would have to buy your book
Probably.
to get the
I know,
help
right?
for what it is that's going on. I mean, it probably was
Wow.
something like that because it really makes no sense. I don't know why you would do that. Like,
no, it doesn't even
it-
make sense. Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense if there was at least something that you could at least figure it out yourself, but there's like no way you could do that. There's nothing in the sequence that's even decipherable in any other way. The only way you would know is if you were told it.
Right.
Wow.
But I mean,
That's just one example.
that was during the time like strategy guides were like huge anyway.
Right,
so
Nintendo Power,
why not
and
adjust
well,
it?
not in
Yeah,
this case, but
Nintendo
other strategy
Power
guys.
and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all the Bradley Gaming
Right, the
strategy guides
Bradley
that you could
Gaming, yep.
purchase. It was
Man.
like, how do we make this the cash grab?
How do we
let's take the
sell?
hardest
How
part
do we
out.
sell
Yes.
the guide?
You can figure it out. You'll be stuck there for a while.
That's
you
some
figure it
shady
out,
shit,
or
but
you
I
can buy
can
a
see
book
that,
and
yeah.
get right through it.
Yeah.
I
So-
wonder.
Yeah.
I
Go ahead,
wonder. I wonder how people got through Tales of Destiny.
Fuck.
Because
Oh, with the
Dude,
tails again, with the tails.
but hey, Tales of Destiny has such a shitty translation. Oh my god! Like the translation near the end of the game.
Uh-huh.
It's bad. You're supposed to
Right.
you're trying to figure out one of the things you're trying to do is trying to figure out the code, right?
hmm
You're trying to figure out the fucking code of the game, and the translation's so damn bad. You're like, what the fuck? Like, what am I doing? You're sitting there putting it right according to the
Right.
translation of
Yeah.
the game, only to find out you're wrong.
Wow. Sounds like
Right.
CV2.
And
Yeah, yeah.
Like you're like, am I stupid or some shit?
Right.
No.
Like, what
I was
the
gonna
heck?
say it's like
Give me the-
CV2. I didn't want to trigger Bud, but it is like CV2.
It is like
where-
CV. No, I know.
It's
You're not going to trigger me. I
designed-
know all the faults and flaws of
Yeah,
CV2,
but-
and I'm aware of them, and I accept them. But I love it anyway because that's my right.
I can and I want to.
Oh, no,
I can and I
ain't
want
have
to.
no
So
right for that.
very cool.
But,
very cool.
There's another one in the game also that's the one I like to always point to as being especially egregious. But there's one I think that maybe people would say is arguably a little more egregious. That they because in the Japanese version, I think because the main character has an ocarina that he plays. That most of the game is just a musical instrument. Like you can play soundtrack, most of the soundtrack from it, I think, through most of the game. But there's a point in the game at the very end where it turns into a story-based item. And that only is the case in the American version, because for some reason, the guys at Working Designs thought it was a brilliant idea. Hey, let's make it so that you have to use this ocarina once after the final boss. Otherwise, if you go up to save a character who's possessed, they'll kill you. Like, you can actually die after the final boss. And if you didn't save, you
What?
have to do the entire thing over again. And they thought that this was a brilliant idea. Now, the problem is
That's
that
not a brilliant
when
idea, but go ahead.
At the end of no, but here it gets worse. It gets worse.
Oh, geez.
So, yeah, if you thought that was bad enough, it gets worse. So, when they decided to make that change, the problem was that at the end of the game, usually the ocarina is in your pal Null's inventory. But the thing is, from what I recall, you can't access that inventory normally at the end of the game. Like, you can't go into it.
Mhm.
So what they did was they took the ocarina and made it a permanent part of Alex's inventory. Now, as opposed to Null's, you only have like 5 or 6 slots that you can have items with your character. So that means you can't. There's one less chance that you have of having a healing item for the main character, because he has to hold on to
It's
that
limited.
ocarina for the entire game
Yep.
for that final sequence where it's going to be
Wow.
relevant.
Yep.
Again, because if they kept it like the Japanese version, you wouldn't have been able to do it. So your game's basically screwed if that would have happened, because you can't play it.
Right.
Right.
So So yeah, because apparently we needed that, which I don't understand. You see, the thing is, it gets kind of into the subject of localization debates because, and I think, there's tons of debates we can have about that concerning, what's good and what's bad localization. And I mean, I'm not against the idea of localization. I mean, sometimes you need to, change certain things in order to reflect different, cultural understandings or different things across the spectrum of what it is. But you try to give the spirit of much of the game as you can with it. So like when you're changing things like that you're like, oh, well, we're just going to take it away so that you can't get through a dungeon, adequately, or we're going to change this so that all of a sudden you can die after the final boss, which should never, I mean, once you're done with the final battle, like that should be it.
Or change a clue to where you have to buy a strategy guide to get through it. Yeah.
Yeah, I beat the boss.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's shady.
I mean, there's just some things you don't break.
Chivo Pop and dead.
It's like when Kaizo. It's like those Kaizo traps where they make it that after you're done when you get through the ticker, when you get through the final goal, they'll put like a pit afterwards. So like after you're done, like you die.
You fall onto the punji sticks.
Yeah, you fall in there and you just die. I mean, when I was younger, I did laugh at that. But I think to myself, really, like that's just breaking a certain cardinal rule. You know, you just don't do that.
That's just devs trolling the players, pretty much. Yeah. Very much.
Hey, those Kaizo block things, man.
Those things
are
BS. Yes, those are BS.
Jump in the wrong area, bink, right on the floor.
All right, on your ass.
Yeah, I know.
I think one of my controllers did not survive the Kaizo blocks.
I'm not surprised by that. Yeah.
You know what? I want to play those. I mean, I got an NES in here. Why not? I still haven't played the GPW1 and GPW2. That really has them in there. I haven't played neither one of those. I need to try those. They look fun. I just haven't tried them.
Oh yes,
all good.
A lot of fun.
So we talked a lot about RPGs, a lot about Lunar. You also mentioned some shoot 'em ups. I think Gradius, I think, was mentioned. Did you spend a lot of time on the shoot 'em ups, or was it more like that was kind of a side thing, and then it was mostly the RPGs and platforming? Or
it turned out to be more of a side thing. Like I did appreciate Gradius, mostly Gradius 3 for the Super Nintendo, and then I did play a little bit of Gradius 5 for the PS2, which I think was like the last real like official title that Konami really did for the series, which I guess in retrospect, after seeing that whole episode, I guess it's not so surprising what ended up happening with Konami going forward after that. Because I was like, why didn't they do more of those games? It's like afterwards, like, wow, maybe I should have been thankful that they did anything.
That they did any of it, right? Those games are hard though. Those shoot 'em up games, I can't play them. I like watching other people play them because I respect the skill that it takes to play them, but I just don't have it. Those bullet hells, I think they call them. Yeah.
I was much better at it when I was younger. My reflexes for those games definitely aren't what they used to be.
Yeah, you got to have pretty good reflexes, yeah.
Because I used to do arcade mode for Gradius 3, which is like the extreme mode, like really like where you get a lot more of if you blow up enemies, they'll actually shoot shrapnel. When you blow them up, so you have to kind of be ready to like navigate to avoid it when they explode,
right?
Or any of that stuff. And I could do that when I was younger. Now I tried to do it. I can't even get past like the second stage.
Yeah,
with like the bubbles and everything. Like I can't even do it at that mode.
Yeah, I'm like game over in like a minute.
You know what?
Start game. Immediately
start game. Dead. Fuck that controller.
Not too long ago, I tried to play G Darius. It's on the PlayStation 1.
I've heard of that.
Holy
nice.
shit. Dude, I was like, damn, I remember this game being so hard. I used to run through that shit.
Right.
Especially when I figured out how to do the lasers, absorb enemies and shoot out the lasers and then make the lasers even bigger on the final bosses.
Right.
That's like one of the best things ever, by the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I figured that. I was like, why do I suck so bad right now?
I think in order to play those, you need
experience when I was going back.
Yeah, I think in order to play those games, I think you need a 2-liter of Shasta and an All Rush mixtape. That's the only way to get through it.
Fuck, dude. I played R-Type, Super R-Type, and
I got to throw a Futurama reference in.
Oh god, I tried Super R-Type, and I did it for DGDS, and I was like, you know what? I'll just play it and see how far I get. And I got a 2-hour block. I got another game to back it up, which was Knights of the Round. I'm an idiot. And I think I got to like level 2 and went, well, fuck this. Let's go ahead and go to Knights of the Round. And then I got to like level 3 and that and went, okay, well, fuck this. We'll go back to R-Type. And I literally bounced between the two games and just went, I'm going to I'm gonna just whatever. Fuck it.
This has been Chardmuck, who has been presenting to you Pong.
Yeah,
In other words.
that was Pong
Video
on the
game
Super
Pong.
That's
Nintendo.
right.
You did Pong on the
Fucking
Super
embarrassing.
Nintendo for
No,
real?
no, I
No,
was saying he was going back and forth
back
between the
and
games.
forth.
I was
okay.
joking,
Literally.
not literally
Literal
Pong.
Pong.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna finish one of these fucking games in the next 2 goddamn hours, or I'm
Yeah.
gonna fucking be embarrassed. I didn't
Yeah,
finish.
you just bouncing back and forth between 2 different games. Yeah, that's why I said Pong. Yeah, awesome.
Awful.
I mean, that's exactly my experience. I mean, again, I enjoy the games. The music, again, I keep saying the music because for me, that's probably one of those things that really appeals to me with video games in general. A lot of them is
Absolutely.
that a lot of times, like in many of these genres, whether it's Castlevania, which I'll be getting to, of course, because I'm sure you're like, well, where does Castlevania fit into this story?
Look
In
at
there.
Yeah, I love Castlevania.
Castlevania, Metroid, Mega Man. I mean,
Yeah, all
Gradius as
great.
well. They all have really good soundtracks.
That's about half
that-
of it for me.
Yeah.
Music, that's about half the experience for me, as far as I'm concerned. If it's got great music, then I can let go of a lot of shitty gameplay and all that if it's got good music.
Yeah.
I think I can agree with that. Music makes the entire game. The whole atmosphere that you get when you play the game. You hear this music, you're like, all right, I'm gonna keep going just for the music. Even if you're just pissed off at the gameplay or the mechanics,
Yes.
keep playing the game because of the fucking music.
Because it's got great
we all
music.
play some games with some bad mechanics. That includes me.
Yep.
I'm looking at you,
Mega
Final
Man
Fantasy
X6.
remake.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Looking at you.
Oh,
Talk about the first one?
No, I'm talking about the remake.
7 remake.
That's another
Shots
story
fired.
altogether. Shots fired. If it weren't for the music, and I say that every time I play.
I haven't played
this
it.
music's so good.
yeah, the remix is really good for.
I've heard some of
the
the
soundtrack.
Yeah, I've heard some of it from the remake, but I haven't played the remake myself. Yeah.
I got the remake.
Well, since we're on the subject of remakes, Gal, how do you feel about the remakes on some of those RPGs, like the Final Fantasy VII remake?
Oh wow.
Chard, calm down.
I'm sorry, nothing.
It's interesting because everyone kind of says, "Oh, you really hate it, right?" And it's like, no, like it's kind of interesting what age has done to me. Because when I was younger, I got really like, even with Final Fantasy VIII, I would get really like, if you were to talk to me like some years ago, I would get like really, really heated and make like constant jokes about like the story or things like that. You see, Chard can hardly contain himself.
I'm gonna fucking mute my mic because I'm
Say what you got to say, Char, but let him finish first.
But the thing that I found interesting is that, okay, so for me, I feel that they're decent remakes in the sense that the music really hits the top notch. And again, say what you will about Square, they're always very good about getting graphics to be really good. I mean, they really are very immersive about what it is, to the point that when I see Midgar, when I see those particular things, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I would consider those settings and stuff to be.
This is Midgar,
and flesh it out and stuff. But when it comes to, it's always the story and the characters to me where things kind of get interesting for some reason. And I think it's because of either maybe design choices that they choose about how they want to go about it. Again, when they first said that it was going to be episodic, I automatically was like, I don't really think that's the best way to go about it.
I think a lot of people were like that.
It's going to affect how the story goes from there, about how we're going to tell all these, how we're going to fit everything together, how we're going to make these things all go. And I felt that it ran the risk that if they did that, what it was going to do is we're going to do like this one section of the game, and then a lot of it is just going to be side quests and padding and things that kind of do with it. And at least from my experience, what I saw with it was that that's a lot of what was really filling in the gaps about things. Let's go through this section of the train graveyard, and let's have this entire section about these particular aspects in it. And I was kind of like, okay, but it really isn't leaving me with anything. It's kind of like, okay, this is a thing,
doesn't
but,
add anything to
really,
the story or anything.
It's not really adding something that really I take away from, or stuff like
Nothing
that.
of
And then
substance.
I'm not going to spoil too much about it because Chard hasn't concluded it yet, so I'm not going to say
I haven't
what
played
I
it
feel
at all
about
either,
it,
so
stuff like that.
I may not.
But let me just say, but what I will say in the basic of terms when it comes to it is, I feel they introduced things into the narrative that didn't really need to happen. Because I feel that what it ended up doing is it left me with more questions that really aren't the kinds of questions you want to leave people with. When it involves, your characters and where you're going with something.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't ask for examples because of spoilers, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the most I'm going to really say about it, because I really don't want to say more, because again, I want Chard to experience it for himself, and then we'll probably have a disagreement about it, and I'm fine with that. But because we're fine with that. We could go, those different things. But I want to at least just say that, if you were asking me, that's kind of how it is. That's kind of how it was also for Kingdom Hearts 3 too. But again, we haven't even gotten into Kingdom Hearts or any of that.
Well,
stuff.
real quick, before we go any further, Dark looks like he wants to say something.
Yeah, what do you got? What do you got?
Yeah, okay. So the Final Fantasy VII remake, because I haven't got to play it yet at all. I always forget. Like anytime I get fun, it's like any type of money, that's not like one of the games that goes on my mind. And that's a shot fired at Char, by the way. But
there we go.
These two.
I know,
but,
guys.
No, but the Final Fantasy VII remake, aren't they doing multiple parts? So I get that you just kind of left pondering a lot of like Ghal said, you left wondering a lot of things before by the time you get to the end of the 7 remake. So shouldn't you kind of go into that game, for anybody else that hasn't played it? Should we go into this game with an open mind?
Yes.
And kind of thinking that
well, I think you should.
You definitely should. Never hold it to that it's not like the OG game, because it never was going to be like the OG game.
Think of it as its own entity.
Its own thing. Yeah, because there are people out there who literally hate it because it's not my Final Fantasy VII, brah.
Well, then go play your Final Fantasy VII.
Right. Well,
and it was,
which is a great game, and you should.
It was never going to be.
Yeah.
My opinion, and I'll try and make it brief. My opinion about 7. You guys know I'm very middle ground with it. I know what it did. Yeah. It's an important game. It did a lot for the series, but it's still not my favorite.
10's better.
10 is better.
I
can agree with that. But the thing about it, in my opinion, this is totally my opinion, is I feel like they could have gone all the way left with this thing. They could have just taken this thing and done something huge with it, something we never thought of, and been like, that is a very interesting spin, and just made it a remake. It's not the original. It has the characters and the idea behind it, but they could have just fucking left fielded it and been like, oh, that's an interesting thought. Or they could have made it the OG. They just kept everything the way it was.
They could have done something like what they did with Cobra Kai, and then just pick up the story years later with one of the characters having aged something, and then pick up a new storyline for them. Yeah, that could be cool.
Right. But what they did was they were like, let's do something new. But we're gonna push away all the old audiences, so let's keep this here.
Yeah.
But we want to reach a new audience, so over here we're gonna do this.
You're trying to please everybody.
We're gonna start pushing the people away. We don't want to. Yeah. And it was like they couldn't commit to either one.
Exactly, Chard.
See,
he hasn't even finished it.
Like it sums it up. That sums it up pretty nicely.
A lot of it feels forced to me. It feels very forced, and I don't like being forced to like something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The music and everything, the gameplay, everything's spectacular, but the story just feels like they're like, yo, hey, just swallow this. Just take this. Just eat this. You know you don't like corn, but you need to eat your fucking corn. Eat this. It has to be eaten, or you can't.
Right.
Hey, Chard, what's your opinion about Wedge?
No, let's talk about Castlevania Symphony of the Night, please.
Hey, I'm down with that. We could talk about Castlevania.
I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into
He doesn't like Wedge, apparently.
What he said is exactly how I feel too.
Yeah.
I have an unpopular opinion.
I don't even know what happened.
Symphony of the Night.
Interesting.
No, I don't. I fucking hated it. I played a little bit of it, and I was like, fuck this game. In this shit. It was like when I was in my apartment.
Just for half a second. I'm just fucking with him.
I literally.
I muted you for like half a second, dude.
Well, I literally told everybody. And all right, I'm banned from the podcast, y'all. This is my last.
No, you're not.
Cancel Captain Dark.
But seriously, I mean, I warned y'all. It was an unpopular opinion.
Dude, you're allowed to have whatever opinion you want. Go ahead, man.
I played Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Like, this is way back when I had my old layout before I got this current one.
Mm-hmm.
I played it, and I was just like, no, fuck this. I'm cool. I'm good. I didn't care for the combat like that. I really didn't. The layout, it was easy to navigate.
Was it like the RPG elements that you didn't like, or?
No, it wasn't even. Well, of course, I'm a love the RPG elements.
That's why it threw me off. Yeah.
I think maybe it felt a little too simplistic for my taste, I guess.
Is it the customization, like the over, feeling with different tools or different things that you could use to really navigate. Because I know that there's a lot of players that I know who were more fans of the original, like the classic Vanias. They really found that Symphony of the Night was very was too much, that you could really find your way easily through things because you had a lot of different options that you could really do to play through with the amount of weapons and the different armors and different things that they gave you. That you
like
could
the
really
Metroid
just,
aspect of it, in other words, versus
way.
the linear style of the classic
like
Vanias.
you had that kind of non-linear gameplay that they really kind of introduced in that way. Could that be the reason?
Well, I don't mind non-linear gameplay. I actually love to be able to explore. Period. I like to run around and find shit that I'm not supposed to get into, like on Final Fantasy 2, where I got smoked in the beginning of the game because I went to the wrong area.
Well, do you like Metroid?
Actually, I haven't played Metroid. Let's say Hollow Knight, because it's a Metroidvania.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
Hollow Knight.
Do you like Hollow Knight?
Oh, Hollow Knight. I do like Hollow Knight.
Okay,
but I could tell I would like. I play Axiom Verge too. I played a little bit of that.
So you do like Metroidvanias, just not Symphony of the Night.
I just don't like Symphony of the Night. I felt like I guess maybe I felt like it was just like the graphics and the music were great. I won't diss it completely. I can't say it was utter trash. It's not true.
Yeah,
but
music and graphics top notch, definitely.
Yeah. I think gameplay wise, I think maybe I just felt like it was too easy compared to what the other games would be.
Okay,
that's understandable. If there are people who criticize it, that is a very common criticism I do see of those. I had people that I was at when I went to university. I had people who would tell me, like, I'm a big fan of the classic Vanias, man. I mean, I'm not going to knock Symphony of the Night, because it has great music and all that stuff, but I'm just not really into that kind of gameplay. And I'd be like, that's fine. It's just a different style that you're into. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
the reason why Symphony of the Night appealed to me, again, since I was really into Super Metroid, and that was my first, I think anyone could understand why Symphony of the Night ended up really appealing to me tremendously, because it hit all those notes in a tremendous way. I mean, it basically built, and I mean, it was the one that basically, in a big way, along with Metroid, created the Metroidvania genre.
Not to mention the fact that you said your gaming origins, the first time you had a controller in your hand was Super Metroid.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a given.
It's very much in line with your origins. Yeah,
that it was going to do it for me.
Now, see, I liked Castlevania: Lord of the Shadows too, and I know a lot of people don't like that because it was too open compared to the Castlevania. Not only was it 3D, now I'm into like a kind of like a hack and slash beat 'em up, like Devil May Cry type deal.
Yeah.
So no, I know a lot of the Castlevania fans, the OG fans, didn't like that. They're used to walking with the 2D side scroller where you go around and you still it's still kind of hack and slash because you still get the you still beat up enemies that's in the same manner. It's just 2D. I think a lot of people didn't like the 3D the change into 3D.
Very true. I did enjoy the first one. I did enjoy the first Lords of Shadow.
I haven't played that one yet.
No, that one I did enjoy. I mean, and people were telling me, really, you like it? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, it's so different. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, that's what they were going into with it. I mean, it wasn't like they were trying to say this is like, previous ones. This was going to be, their take on the Castlevania series. And for what it was worth, I thought it was enjoyable.
I think a lot of people assume that, or like, and this is a good point actually, because we're talking about Castlevania and Final Fantasy 7. People expect, you got the OG fans and then you got new fans. Developers, companies have to strike that perfect balance when they're remaking or trying in a new direction. They have to strike that perfect balance between trying to keep the old fans and bring new ones to that genre. And a lot of the older fans don't feel that same way. They feel like, oh, this is a remake, even though it says remake, not remaster.
Right. Yeah, right. Thank you.
But a remake, they're trying something in a new direction. You can either love it or you can hate it. But don't sit there and say this ain't my Castlevania because X, Y, and Z, or this ain't my Final Fantasy 7 because Eric didn't die in the first part in the first disc of the game. You know what I'm saying? I don't recall where she actually dies it, but I'm just saying.
Disc 1.
What's it, this one? I don't recall.
End of disc 1. Yep.
Okay, so this one. So she didn't die in the first part of the game. So this is not my Final Fantasy 7. That's gatekeeping. We shouldn't be gatekeeping it in the community. Let everybody enjoy what they enjoy.
Yeah, everybody should enjoy what they enjoy for sure.
Except Tails. You got to enjoy Tails.
Right. Except for Tails, right? Yeah.
I mean, for me, I'm never against the idea of there being, like, if someone says, is there a step too far about something? I'm like, no, I mean, it's okay to do different things in a narrative. I think the important thing is, of course, you have the characters, they are who they are, and things like that. But like what you do with the story, I feel should always be open. It depends on what that change does.
Right.
You know, you can have changes, you can have things that happen and everything, and I think
Right.
that that's totally fine. And for instance, going back to Lunar, one of the they have a big change that happens in the PlayStation version of Lunar Silver Star story, with where the heroine of the game, the one that you end up having to save, they have a big place for her in the story more than what she was in the original Sega CD version of the game, where she just went home and you never had interaction with the characters. I felt that that was a change for the better because you end up actually caring about her more because she engages more with the cast, and you know she's there with it, so that when the moment in the game happens later where you know something happens to her, you care about her more. You want to rescue her. You feel more invested in what's going on and those kinds of things. That's a good change, you know. But I feel sometimes when you have change that you just do for the sake of change, you know, that can sometimes backfire. Sometimes.
Well, that change drew you into that.
Something can happen, you know. Yeah,
I was gonna say that changed kind of because it seems like characters are very important to you in the games, and me too. But it sounds like that change was something that led you to care about the character more, which is why it was, I don't want to say acceptable, that's not the right word, but what you saw as a good change.
I mean, but again, you'll have different views on like what a change is and whether it's good or not, you know, for the narrative and certain things. Like for instance, I feel like some of the changes in 7 Remake that they did to try and get you invested more in Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse, I think it's fairly mixed. You know, with how really good that ended up being for me. Right. I'm talking from of course from my perspective.
Well, sure.
That, you know, I mean, in the original game, you know, they were more minor and stuff, but I feel sometimes smaller, sometimes less is more. You know, sometimes you know when you try to give too much to something, sometimes, you know, it ends up kind of muddying it a little bit. Like, you know, like for instance, one of the jokes that some people make is because now everything is like really developed. They're like, okay, let's have our death sequence where this person's going to give like a 5-minute thing. And like, it's like, but what were they to the narrative? They were only like, you know, like they were the janitor. And now all of a sudden, you know, we're having, you know, a 5-10 minute, you know, death sequence about, you know, what a great person they were and everything. And sometimes that can, you know, that can kind of
seems
in
forced.
The middle of it really being, you know, where you want it to be and stuff like that. I mean, one of the changes I felt with the 7 Remake was, you know, when they tried, like early on when they were when you're first beginning it and you're like getting ready to break into the reactor, they had this like whole sequence where like, you know, they have Wedge like going up to Cloud and they're just like, you know, oh, you know, we like you, buddy. You know, do you remember that he's being like a moral support or whatever? I'm like, dude, he's the mercenary. You guys hired him to do these things for you. You know, what are you doing? You know, it was kind of like, you know, it kind of like took me out of it a little bit because, you know, again, you're told
the paid killer. Don't be friends with the paid
told,
killer.
No, but like, but you're like told, but you're told like that these guys are like battle hardened, like terrorists. Like they're basically, you know, going in and like they're used to blowing up and going against Shinra and doing these kinds of things. Like they have a history of doing this stuff. And it's like when I've seen them talking and doing this stuff, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't really get that from these people. Right? You know, I don't really get that sense.
It feels like Wedge literally got done with his paper route on his bicycle and then rode over to sector whatever the fuck they're blowing up just in time and dropped his bike off and was like, okay, let's go. Blow this stuff up. It's just like,
very cool.
Fuck, man.
Meanwhile, I mean, they were quirky in the original game too. I mean, you know, Wedge would do like roly-poly jokes and they would do like all this stuff that was like really like out there. And then Jesse had like this crush on Cloud in the original too, but it was kind of like not really played up. It's more played up in the remake.
Oh, she thirsty as fucking.
Is she thirsty in the remake?
Thirsty as hell.
Thirsty. Wants
Cloud.
It's like
badly.
No.
See, I've only played the original. I remember the whole scene in the train where she's making the ID for him and all that, and you know, she's trying to make it all good. That was about as far as it went.
But it's so much more overt in the remake.
Yeah.
Like,
it didn't bother me in the original at all. But yeah. It was just something I remember when you're talking about it. Yeah.
Well, you gotta think the remake has voice acting now, so now you can really feel what the fuck she's saying.
Right.
A ton of banter in the game.
Ooh, Cloud, I want to get in your.
Yeah, let's talk about
Cloud's like
fucking pizza.
Cloud has that face like really.
Oh, jeez.
Actually, Char, didn't you have a comment about
she wants
Cloud
to make it with Cloud?
I actually understand him more in this game.
Okay,
but he's just like, what the hell is the matter with these?
So, me reaching to try and wrap my brain around why everything's happening in this game right now, I thought to myself, this is very meta, by the way. Maybe they designed these characters the way that they are, so over apparent and overdone, because Cloud doesn't want to connect with anybody because he's a hired mercenary, right?
Right.
And he's shut off. You know, he's
Yeah.
emo, whatever the fuck you want to call him. And
Aloof.
these people are so annoying to me that maybe that's what they were designed that way, so you could actually relate with Cloud working with these people. Like,
so
just
they're
give me
trying
my
desperately
money.
to relate to this aloof person, so they're being oversharing with it. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I thought. And I thought, you know what? If that is truly the case, honest to God, I will take everything bad I said back about this, and that's fucking genius.
Because that actually does make some sense. Yeah.
It makes sense. Like, because I'm playing and I'm like, I hate all of these characters. Wait a minute.
Hate is such a
Maybe
strong
that's
word.
by design.
Yeah, he's this quiet dude, and they all want to
that's why
connect
they
with
did
him
it.
desperately, and he won't make the effort. So they're overcompensating, trying to connect with the dude.
And it's so obvious. But then I thought about it, went, shit, maybe that's why they did it.
Hey,
so
Yeah.
you know,
let's go with that.
I'll take it.
So, like, if you're asking me, I'm more mixed. Like, again, when I was younger, I was much more like getting like really into it about like what a certain issue is. I mean, nowadays I actually am very mixed about, like, for instance, when I was talking about Final Fantasy VIII, I'm not as bothered about Final Fantasy VIII as I used to be. I mean, I think it has great music. I think Triple Triad is really good. I did enjoy some of the things, and I kind of get what they were wanting to do with the junctioning. I know it didn't work. I know it's screwed up on a lot of ways, but
That's
I
the part that
kind of
bothered
like
me,
the idea that you can kind of customize and do things.
Yeah.
They just needed to really iron it out more than what they ended up
The
doing. 'Cause it
implementation
ended up
wasn't
being
the greatest. No,
really thing. And again, I'm not saying the story or the characters are really any better. I still have my issues with it, but I'm much more like calm about it. Like, I'm just like, you know, I could probably put it in every now and then for a little while and maybe enjoy whatever it is. To me, it's one of Nobuo Uematsu's best soundtracks.
And that's the thing.
Like,
and that's what we were saying earlier, that I can forgive a lot of bad game mechanics and gameplay or bad story if the music is really well done. And Nobuo Uematsu, I mean, is there any better video game composer than him? I mean, yeah.
One of the best.
Yeah,
Wait, his
definitely.
track record? No.
Nobody comes.
There's
close,
some.
really,
That's not saying there aren't other great, composers for games. I mean, there are
Yasunori-
many fantastic ones. But
Yasunori Misada is
yeah,
up
yeah,
there, but-
Yasunori Mitsada.
up there too.
Okay, I was going to say,
Doesn't have
because
the
Chrono
Yobo
Trigger,
track
is
record,
probably my favorite soundtrack, and Nobuo Uematsu did do 10 tracks for it, but most of it was done by Yasunori Mitsuda. Am I saying the name right? I always suck at those names.
Yasunori
that's
Masuda.
it.
Yeah, that guy
Mitsuda.
worked himself practically to death on that game, and it shows, man. There was a lot of love he put in that. That dude's off the hook, man. He's awesome.
Very good.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, but there are also other legends. I mean, you have Koji Kondo,
Mhm.
who's basically memorable for all the Nintendo tracks we can all,
Remember.
think about.
in our sleep.
Yeah, and remember,
Yoko Shimomura for Kingdom Hearts and for Super Mario RPG.
Yeah.
And all of them.
Oh, yeah.
There's also Michiro Yamane, who's basically involved for a lot of the Castlevania music, basically from Symphony 9 on. She also did
she's
Bloodlines
fantastic.
as well.
Yeah.
Actually, Bloodlines was her,
Oh, she did Bloodlines.
Castlevania debut.
Nice.
Hmm.
And she did Rondo, right?
Huh?
She did Rondo and Symphony, right?
I don't think she did Rondo. She did do. I think she started with Symphony of the Night actually afterwards,
Okay.
but she did do Bloodlines for the Genesis.
She did Bloodlines. Okay, I don't know why I thought she did Rondo.
That was also Yamane. That was actually her debut. Was with the Bloodlines, which for the longest time was a game you couldn't get because there was no re-release for it until they finally did the Castlevania collection, and I think they put it on the Genesis Mini. Before those, there was no way you could do it short of emulation.
Right.
You could play those games. And she's also really good. I mean, I think she said Johann Sebastian Bach was a big influence in her music. I mean, a lot of her music just really is real. Like, she's a really it's art.
Got to
I mean,
roots
it's
from the
truly
classical
wonderful,
composers,
like,
and
where she goes with it. With Lunar, there's Ware, I think is how you pronounce it. Itaware, I think is how you pronounce his name. Really good music also. He did the Grandia series as well, which is really good with music. There's a lot of great musicians, but you're right. If we're talking about most well-known, Uematsu, by far is probably the most well-known. If you were to ask anybody, like a video game composer,
well, he's such a legend. I mean, he's just been so ubiquitous since NES. I mean,
yes,
yeah.
Well, you got Motoi Sakuraba, who's the primary composer of the Tales of series, but he also done or they also done Dark Souls music and a lot of other things. So,
Yes.
I mean, but again, the most memorable, because Final Fantasy was so prominent in a lot of people's households, that was the one that was like, hey, let's get this shit. Hey, we got to do this.
Uematsu is the household name, but there are so many other greats out there too. They're definitely worth mentioning. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's very few that's on his level with great music damn near every game.
We should do an episode on composers.
We could.
Yeah,
easily.
I think we should do that.
We should.
Yeah, I think we'll plan for that. That would be an interesting episode to talk about. So yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say,
sorry.
we could keep going, but I was just going to say we
go
got some viewer questions come on. But if we want to keep going, we can keep going.
No, absolutely. I mean, I was going to talk about one of the more recent composers that I really like his work is Jake Kaufman, who did music for for Double Dragon Neon.
Oh yeah, okay.
And which it's the stage 2 of that is like full on 80s. It's like an 80s track. It's like straight out of like it was a new like
right to my heart.
That track. He also did some of the music for I think Shantae, Half Genie Hero that he did.
I played that game. I got that game. That's a good game.
Love that stuff.
That's a great game.
And he also did some for like OC Remix, which does a lot of remixes for different video games. There was one that they did of like a Final Fantasy VI extravaganza of all these people, different artists doing their take on different music from it.
That's
and he
so
did.
Cool. I love that.
Jake Kaufman did his version of the opera scene in Final Fantasy VI, and it's
iconic scene.
I love that version. Of it. In that way, there's just again, you're right. I mean, when it comes to music, there's just so many good musicians. And for the longest time, I had people who would troll me in class when I was younger. They'll be like, really? Video game music? That's not music. That's just sound or whatever. And it's like, I always remember that every time when I go through it, I think about this. I'm like, yeah, it's all just sound. It's all just sound, right?
Yeah. Right. Ghal was right, as always.
Remember that.
Even then, Ghal was always right.
Well, I was used to only having really a few friends when I was very younger who were really into like the kinds of things that I was into. I was very much I didn't really have as many friends until I got to like high school and college, where I ran into a lot of people that had the same kind of passions that I did about those kind of things. So I was very used to, being on the outside and everything, but it was fine because I always had those video games to keep me company.
Well,
through it all. Like it was always, good times and everything like that.
And that's how the Oracle was born.
Ghal is the Oracle.
Ghal is the Oracle. Yeah. Definitely.
But
go ahead.
I'm trying to think. I mean, are there any? I'm trying to think of like. So where did I leave off on? Because I was leaving off on.
We talked
stuff.
about so much,
because we were talking about
composers.
We were like Lunar and then going into composers and stuff. Like maybe I get into. I was about to talk about Symphony of the Night, I suppose.
Well, don't feel like you have to give us everything tonight, Ghal, because you'll definitely be invited back on. So
because I could go on and on about like all those different things. I mean, to me, video games always were a great escape.
Yeah.
From whenever things are going on, whether it was Final Fantasy VI also. I mean, that game probably is one of the most impactful games on my life. That I can actually talk about. Maybe I'll finish off with that one. With that one because that to me, I knew my uncle played Final Fantasy VI way back when I was little. Like I can kind of remember when he was going after Ultros to like keep him from stopping the opera, to when Celes is going into the house that's collapsing in Zen to try and save the kid. I can remember those bits from my childhood, and I'm like, yeah, my uncle was playing Final Fantasy VI, but I didn't make the connection at the time for whatever reason. I didn't really engage with Final Fantasy until 7. That was really my true intro into the series. But the game that ended up being the real impact for me was 6. I first played the game when I was going through my emulation phase back in, I say, 2009. And I mean, considering what was happening in the world at that time, I think it's pretty obvious, what kinds of things were going on with the financial crisis. A lot of things were going on in my family, and there were also health concerns and stuff going on with myself and others. So it was a very bleak time. That it was really hard for me, even when I was I was working the front desk of a department at UM at the time, and my boss was always like, kind of like, how are you feeling? Is everything good? And I had to grit my teeth because I really didn't feel good. Like it was really difficult to keep a happy face, through it all. But I remember that I was always thinking, everybody keeps telling me that this Final Fantasy VI is, really good. Let me sit down and play it and, get to see what everyone, keeps telling me about, that I really need to play this and everything. And I have to tell you, that game didn't come at a better time than where that was, where I was really adrift at the time, and I really, didn't know. And that game, I like to say, it kind of saved me.
I could see that.
It because really it taught me probably one of the most valuable lessons that anyone could do. That basically life will sometimes suck. Some things will sometimes happen that everything feels, like it's just collapsing around you.
Yes.
But the key thing is to always hold on to that circle, to hold on to the things that you like, that you value, that make you get up and make you enjoy the world around you.
Yeah, that make you.
Because that's what will get you through the tough times. If as long as you have that flame, you'll hold on. And that's exactly what the game ends up being, because the characters end up losing everything. Even the own world that they're on, everything that they have literally goes to shit. And they find the strength to carry forward, even though they lose family members, they lose friends, they even lose themselves, everything. They find the strength to move forward. And that's what gives them the power to ultimately take down Kefka and everything that he stands for, which is the complete opposite. He's like full-blown nihilism.
He's destruction.
He's
the
full
nihilism.
on, just throw everything to caution. There's nothing worth living for. It's all, down about and everything. And that was the message I really needed.
Cynicism
like
embodied,
just seeing all of that. And I remember this one line, I love it, when Cella's, after the whole thing where she almost commits suicide.
Yeah.
And everything that goes on and everything, and she gets to there and she sees Sabin, the first friend. She's like, "You're alive," she's all this sort of thing. And after she saves the child from the collapsing house, which Sabin somehow is able to hold up.
Yeah.
But then again, he was able to
remember
suplex
that
a tree.
scene.
But then again, he could suplex a train.
A train?
So he could do whatever
we don't
wants.
argue Sabin's strength.
We don't argue about Sabin. He could just do whatever. he
Oh,
wants.
you make me want to play Final Fantasy VI.
I'm telling you.
So
I'm
what ends
seriously
up
thinking, man,
happening
I
is
want to
when-
play this game right now.
So Cella's goes up to him and says, "How did you survive? Everything. And I thought everyone was dead." And Sabin laughs and just says, "Did you think like a little thing like the end of the world would do me in?"
Yeah.
Fucking
Classic
love that
Sabin.
line. I fucking love that line.
Oh,
And if you
'Cause
guys didn't
that's
like Final
exactly-
Fantasy VI, all you need to do is listen to fucking Gal talk about
No
it. It should
doubt,
be your
no
favorite
doubt.
goddamn game on the planet.
here's a fun fact.
I love that line.
Fun fact: the scene where Sabin had to hold up the house to protect the kid. That was actually the game and the scene I was playing when I hit affiliate.
Nice.
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 Yeah, I
that's
remember.
the
I'll never forget that
time.
scene for that reason. Yeah, I remember. There's a clip of it too. Yeah, I got all emotional. It was crazy. Yeah, great game.
Kefka's backstory is actually pretty damn sad.
Yeah, it is.
He was experimented
It is.
on. That's the only reason why he's fucked up mentally, because he was experimented on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Even
Every good
he
villain
is a
has
tragedy.
something about him or her that you can sympathize or empathize with. Yeah.
Sephiroth.
Yeah. Sephiroth.
Yeah, that
There's
too.
another great one. Yeah, with Genova. Yeah. Yeah.
He fucking snapped because of all the same
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Every great bad guy has some level that you can empathize with them. Yeah.
But
Every
so
good-
getting
Yeah, you
go
said
ahead,
great.
Charlie.
Every great villain has something that you can connect with.
Every
Well,
great
yes.
villain. That's
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yes, that's what you meant. I was
Thank you for
confirming what
correcting
you
me.
were
saying.
Thank you for correcting me, Chard. I appreciate that.
And Kefka is actually very interesting because he's also, at least in the Final Fantasy series, he's the first time because before that, most of the people who were the villains were these ultra, and again, there's nothing wrong with them, but they were like these ultra ultimate baddies, you know, these kind of beings of true, darkness in some way that they were kind of doing. Kefka, what made him really interesting was that he's basically just a guy. He's just some
dude.
crazy,
There's
person. And what makes him so freaky is that he's not that far removed. Like you could kind of visually see someone being like that. Like just
you
being
can
so
see the
dark in
path
that.
to
and that's
that.
what ends up making it even more scary.
Yeah.
In that way.
Yep.
It's
about
more
it.
real.
And the fact and he has an arc too. I mean, he goes from being a lackey, just like some low, rung, lackey for Emperor Gestal, and he ends up becoming the god of all magic. To end the game and everything, and you have the ultimate showdown.
Right.
And for me, that's why that game just ended up like, again, I remember Sabin's line and all that, just because that's what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
That's what it was, just the kind of thing where, you just kind of feel exactly the same way. Like that's exactly what keeps you going. And to this day, when I'm finishing the game and it's playing the final theme, and again, I know we've been talking about music a lot, but again, music through and through is probably the one thing that video games really have always left me with in a big way, that even when I'm not playing, you can kind of experience the game just by listening, to the music in a lot of ways. And for Final Fantasy VI, that's no exception, because when the ending plays and it's the credits, the part where the Falcon is going over the ocean and you have the birds flapping and the music's hitting that crescendo, I'm going to admit it right on stream. I literally wept when I played the game the first time, because it felt truly, the music caught that expression of being free.
Oh, the Final Fantasy nerds.
Yeah, of just being free. You just feel so alive. Like, it was that true feeling of solace, of just being free on the other side. And there's just nothing like that. There's just, like, from my experiences about it. That's why when people say why I put Final Fantasy VI at the top, I'm like, it's because it was an experience for me. Awesome. Like, it truly, of any game I played, a lot of different games I played, it's probably the one that got me the closest. And again, when you have a moment like that in your life, probably whatever form of media you have, whether it's a video game or whether it's a movie, it ends up being that kind of touchstone for you.
Absolutely.
In that way. And for me, that was Final Fantasy VI.
Final Fantasy VI, amazing, great story, man. And yeah, that's a great game. One of definitely, like I say, always say, it's my favorite Final Fantasy that isn't Final Fantasy VII. I know Chard doesn't like 7, but I like 7, so there.
I love 7.
I not like 7. I like 7.
I just tease you, dude.
It's better. Damn it.
You know what? And I admit there are better games. I admit that 6 is better, and 10 is probably better, but it's a nostalgia thing for me because my first Final Fantasy was 7. So that's why it sticks out to me. Yeah.
I could tell a bad story about my experience in 10, but I love 10. If someone would say, what was the one where you had a really frustrating moment? But I'm not going to get into that.
Let's save that for next. Let's save that for the next one because we need to get to questions. But before we get to questions, real quick, because we didn't touch on this, we want to talk a little bit about retro achievements, because I know you're kind of a newcomer to retro achievements, but you seem to really be taken to it. Did you want to say anything about that?
For the longest time, going back to when because I think achievement hunting really started with when Microsoft released the Xbox 360 back in 2005 with their achievement system and the gamer score and stuff like that. And going back to all those, like, I always had a real dismissive opinion back then of achievements. I always thought, why not just enjoy the game for what it is? Why do you have to do all this stuff that, to be tryhards or stuff? That's literally words that were from my younger self.
Tryhards,
about it. Yeah, and I didn't really like it all that much. I really thought that it wasn't needed. And, for many years, if you had asked me what I thought about it, that's probably the opinion you would have gotten about it in certain ways. But what's funny is...
You and a lot of other people.
And I didn't really get into it because, that really connects with when I was getting more involved with Twitch and really with Max, aka Game Squad, and really, showing, retro achievements and the kinds of things that were involved with there. By the way, Max is a sweet guy. If any of you need to follow,
Max is my buddy. He's an awesome dude.
Great gamer, great guy.
Give it a shout out. Go ahead.
All the way through. And he really showed me just like the kind of, going in and out. He was playing like Roll Chan and all these like really hard games and stuff like that. And I was just like, my God, this is hardcore. This is really like, to the point that at the time I really thought, I don't know if I could ever play something like that. Like, I don't think I have the stamina with it and everything to do all that. And that was the case for a while. But then lately, when I was helping Frank, AK Pulse XP, and I was helping Chard with Symphony of the Night and other games as well. I was helping Frank with Super Metroid and other games. Like, my experiences with that and doing all that, I kind of like sat back and I thought, I can do this. It doesn't seem like maybe I actually could be really good at this sort of stuff. Because I know a lot of games. I've grown up, really doing all this stuff. It'd be nice to kind of have a way of revisiting them and now having this kind of other way of doing it. Because a lot of times, you play it normally, but it's like, hey, I played it so many times. Maybe I can challenge myself and see how well, I could do with it. And that's really where it all started. I downloaded RetroArch. I put in Super Mario World. That was my first game that I badged because I thought, if I'm going to start with anything, why not start with the beginning game of games, Super Mario World in that way. I didn't really want to start with Super Metroid because by that point, Frank had played it and, I'd seen a lot of things. So I was kind of like a little burnt out a little bit. I kind of wanted to let it simmer for a little, for a bit. and it was like it was a lot of fun. It was challenging. I mean, let me tell you, I got better at flying. I thought I could never fly in Super Mario World. RA got me better at flying. Like I actually discovered that I could actually be decent at it.
RA will make you better at video games.
Yeah, like I never thought it would ever happen. And then I played other games. I played a lot of Final Fantasy IV. I played Link to the Past, and then eventually during one of the games that Frank was playing, I think Lauren was putting together a Super Metroid puzzle. And that was what got me inspired to like, you know what? Let me put on Super Metroid. And I ended up badging it in like a week.
That doesn't surprise me.
That. But the one that ended up being the hardest on that one was the Zeeb's escape, escaping the planet in like under a minute.
Oh, geez,
that one took some time to do, but once I got it, oh my God, I was like a kid at Christmas. I was like, yes.
Oh, dude, that feeling.
Like my God, it was like, and everything, and it's a lot of fun. They definitely, when they're done right. And so far I have yet to really have, a set that really, gets me really bent, in a certain way. Again, they make you see things in games that you never really thought about.
Yeah.
Like they make you see games from like a different perspective, to the point that I actually appreciate Symphony of the Night and Super Metroid in those games a lot more than I did before. Because I get to see like a lot of how the, devs put things together, what kinds of things you could do. I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. In that sort of way.
Yeah, you learn all kinds of new things about the games doing retro achievements. That's one of the best parts about it.
I mean, that's one of the things that I've really found, that like a lot of these games, I've just found out so much more about them that I could ever hope for, and it's really turned up a lot of like what I like about video games again. So I mean, I think retro achievements has been a really good boon.
Here. I love it. I love it.
To all of that in a way. And I don't know how long that's going to go. I mean, things, you never know how, life develops and stuff like that. But I mean, for me, hey, if they keep releasing, games, and I mean, there are games I'm waiting for, Lunar still hasn't gotten a set yet. It's probably close to getting one. Ooh. And when that happens.
That sounds like a request, because you can request. I know you know this, but I'm saying for everybody else, you can request sets.
Lunar 1 is going to be it is being worked on. So I mean,
it is.
That is something that I, once that gets dropped, like once it pops up in Discord, oh, a new set, Lunar 1 is there, I'm just gonna be like, I'm there.
Nice.
And who knows, Frank's probably gonna be like, you're banned because you're not showing up anymore.
You're banned
or something like that. I don't know. Or something, because I keep like doing stuff or whatever. I don't know, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a great revisit and stuff, all from RA.
Cool. Very cool, very cool. Yeah, definitely you guys should check out RA at home if you haven't already, retroachievements.org. I put the link in chat for everybody. I also linked to Ghal416's Retro Achievement page if anybody wants to friend or follow Ghal over on Ghal416 over on Retro Achievements. I suggest you do that, and I suggest you be friends with Ghal because he's a good guy and he knows a lot about video games. Yeah, all right. If anybody else has any questions for Ghal, if not, I'll go ahead and move on to viewer questions.
Nah.
We good?
I love this guy. I love Ghal. Yes.
Everybody, we all love Ghal. I love Ghal.
Hearing him talk is so fun. It's so fun.
I love it. It's infinitely entertaining. And Ghal, you will definitely be invited on future podcasts. Don't you worry about that. It's been very enjoyable having you on so far. Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah, you've been a very enjoyable guest thus far. All right, let's jump to viewer questions then. First one's coming in from Crackwither. This one is for Ghal. He's asking, Ghal, when did you start moderating for retro streams?
Ooh. Well, actually, it's interesting enough that actually gets into the story of how I first engaged with Twitch. Funny enough, because for the longest time, Twitch was really, my account goes back to like 2014, I think. And in those days, I really only opened this account because I was looking to watch game conventions, like when they were happening at E3 or stuff like that. Like if Nintendo was showing something, they were showing like some Super Smash Brothers tournament, or Sony or Square was releasing something about their games. I would just do it just so I could pop in and comment or, do things like that. It was very minor. I didn't really have anyone that I really followed. And my opinion of streaming really was like, I don't really know. I mean, is it really something, that I could really, watch and stuff like that. But what happened was, and what changed everything was that on my Facebook, a friend of mine that I used to know from high school said that he was going to start streaming, and he really wanted me to come over and, hang out and stuff because, we share, a passion for games and stuff like that. And he wanted me to be a part of. So I was like, I was kind of nervous about it. I was kind of like, I don't know, but I'll come by. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I'll do it and everything.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun with it and stuff. And at one point, he was like, man, I really like you being here. You're really, knowledgeable. You really are, a great guy to have around. And he made me a mod.
Nice.
And he was the first instance of me modding, a stream on Twitch and so forth. And I was there, and I would stream up. I would also do some modding for some other compatriots of him that he had in his stream group that he had.
Okay.
That was there, and I think they still stream, but I don't really follow them as much as I used to. But they're all great people and everything like that, and I would always kind of be there. But then one day, when my buddy who went by the moniker of Mr. Bubbles, he doesn't stream
Like
anymore. My friend, he was like going through the directory, and he said, we got to pass this love, to those out there, out there as well. Let's see who's streaming, game, retro games, things that we love. And he said, I see this guy, Game Squad. He's playing, Link to the Past randomizer. Let's check him out. Let's rate him, and let's, show him the love and everything. And the rest, they say, is history.
Yeah.
Because that meeting, when that time I met Max, when he was playing the game, like, we hit it off right away. Like, he was so chill.
Yeah.
Everything about, he still is, it's
yeah.
absolutely the same, like, he was just down, he's down to earth. He was just all about, we're here just, having a damn good time,
missing a tooth,
playing the games and everything. Yeah, the time he was missing a tooth.
I remember that,
he was just in it, he was just, doing all this stuff. And eventually around that time, my friend, again, life happened and stuff, and he had children that were born, and he really couldn't find the time to really, juggle that alongside with streaming regularly, and that kind of fell off. So it kind of was like that branching point where it was kind of like, I then started watching Max all the time, and he was playing all the different games, again, the roll chans, the Final Fantasies, the randomizers, and all the stuff and like that. And it was through Max that and he was the next person who made me a mod in the chat. I'm kind of like a VIP/mod, I think, now in his chat in that sort of way. But and then from then on, I met everybody else through him. I met Frank. I met eventually met Bud. I met Rift. I met Chard. I met pretty much everyone that I know through Twitch, and that way through basically like the gateway to basically retro in so many ways about it. And from there, I guess, the mods just kept adding up. I mean, now I mod in Frank's chat, I mod in Bud's chat, I mod in Chard's chat, like, everyone was just like, we got to have you, your credit there and everything. And it was kind of like through that experience that I kind of was like, this is my retro fam. This is my Twitch family. Like, it's my other family, like, through there, like, just through that experience about every time I pop in, like, everyone's like, Ghal's always showing the love, and being there and everything.
Yes.
I want to say that it's not just from me. Every time I come in, everyone is always, so warm. Everyone is so happy, that I'm there, and everyone, makes me feel welcome, and, they're about it. And, that to me, all of you out there, you all rock.
You're such a warm.
You
Go ahead.
make me feel, again, you make me feel like I can take on the world, and that's always something that I think should be greatly appreciated. I don't think I say that enough. With, and I want it to be known that you all, as a community, you're the best that I think I've ever experienced. I'm not saying that I'm some, again, we were saying, oh, guru, you're the oracle, knowing everything. I only know I put so much into it because I want to pay it forward in the best way that I can about it. And
hell of a job.
To me, is about it.
Ghal, you are such and you deserve every bit of it. I want to say that first off. You're such a warm and caring and loving human being. Just from getting to know you better over these last few weeks with doing the podcast. I mean, we already kind of knew each other through chat and stuff, but just getting to know you through doing the podcast, just having our meetings, our little chats we have, has been a very pleasurable experience. It's been very rewarding, and I love you, man, and I'm glad you're here. And I am of the mindset that anybody who doesn't mod Ghal is an idiot. Because Ghal is such.
I'm only going to get a bunch of swords.
If Ghal's in your chat, mod him now, you idiot. No.
Ghal fucking mods Twitch. He's not.
Ghal
just a
should be the
moderator
mod
at
of
everybody's
Twitch.
channel. He mods
But,
Twitch.
yeah, but in all seriousness, man, you are such a wonderful member of the community. You are such a beloved member of the community for a very good reason, and that's because you have heart. Yeah, we do call you the Oracle in joking and in jest, but it's not entirely untrue because you do have a vast knowledge of these games, and you are so helpful and so willing to give of yourself and give of your time and share that with people, and not only willing to do that, but enthusiastically so, and that you're getting the reward of that. You're just a wonderful guy, man, and I love you, and I could say that for everybody here. I don't think there's anybody here that just doesn't, just think you're the best, man.
Can confirm.
Yeah.
I'm humbled. Thank you so much, all of you.
I mean every word. All right. Let's see. We got another question here. This one's for everybody. What is everyone's favorite PS1 game and why? We'll go ahead and start. We'll start with Ghal since he's the special guest.
Oh, PS1. Well,
I'm sorry.
For me,
that question came from Lumbee Magumby. I forgot to say that. Lumbee Magumby.
Hey, Lumbee. For me, the PlayStation 1 game, like when I think PlayStation 1, and again, I think it's from our talk earlier, I think anyone can kind of guess where this is going. It's Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Like that, to me, that was the game that introduced the console to me. That, like, when I was first starting out, like for many people, it's Final Fantasy VII.
I hate you right now.
you just now saw that?
That's been on for like 15 fucking minutes.
20, 30 minutes.
I stopped paying attention.
Oh, wow.
You went and get on my damn nerves.
Oh, man.
Go ahead, Ghal. Go ahead.
No, so, and the question was why? Like what does it endear? I mean, basically just everything. The music,
yep.
the fact that you get engaged so much with like the different, areas and what they are and how they're so distinct from each other. The story just, I like Alucard. He's just, one of my favorite characters.
Oh yeah, I love Alucard, yeah.
Concerning in his struggle to kind of, find himself through it all in his way forward, outside of the shadow of his father, in that sort of way. And there's just something, as you're growing up and, you're trying to understand yourself, there is sort of like you can kind of understand and kind of view that like from a dark angle, in his case, that kind of struggle in that sort of way. That's why while people tend to hate on, I Am the Wind, which plays during the credits or whatever, it actually, when I was younger, I used to hate on it, but like now, concerning the story and everything, I actually like the song. It's sung by
I liked it when I heard
right
it
now.
Yeah,
with it, but no, I like it.
Sexy
it was sung by the same.
Yeah,
the sexy saxophone.
It didn't exactly fit with the game, but it was like that song on its own. I was like, that's a decent song.
Yeah, I mean it's different. It's different from the rest of the tracks and everything. So I definitely get why people say it like feels very out of place, because it does.
Yeah.
I kind of like how it on its own merits, like what it is about it, but everything about it, I just really love to revisit it. If I was stuck, like people once time asked me, if you were on a deserted island and you can only have one game, what would you take with you? That definitely would be the game. I would do it with, because I could play that. I could play that again and again. I literally did. I mean, to the point that I had friends who were literally saying, Gal, can you like stop playing Symphony of the Night? When I was like younger, because I would like literally play it, to the point that became like a running joke. And then I actually stepped away from it for a number of years. Like after I posted the videos I did on YouTube of me doing a playthrough of it and everything like that, I did step away from it, because once I did the dark room, going through without the echo, the bat, or the mist, I was kind of like, okay, I think that's good. I think I could step away, from this for a little while and, not worry about it. And it ended up being RA that brought me back.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good thing to bring you back.
Many years. I know you're just winking like, yeah, sure. Yeah. You did a little on the side there. You were hiding it. But it was, that's the game. To me, that's the PlayStation 1.
Awesome. Good choice too. Good choice. What about you, Charty?
PlayStation 1. Final Fantasy VII, I would have to say.
Okay.
I know I give it my ratings, and I like 9 more than I like 7, but without 7, there is no 9. So
True.
having and how important it is to the series to me, I think 7 really. I didn't have a PlayStation 1. I went straight to 2, so I didn't get to enjoy like all the new releases and them. I mean, I played Symphony of the Night for the first time last year. You know, that was the first time I ever got to touch it. So when I think PlayStation 1, I think Final Fantasy 7 because that was the biggest draw for me because it was a Final Fantasy game and how different it was from 6 and how much it shifted what I know a Final Fantasy game should look like.
Right.
And then that gave birth to, to 8, which is we'll talk about that later. But
It was
then 7, then 9, and 9 is phenomenal. 9's like everything that I wanted 7 to be.
Yeah.
In a story and with characters, except I like the futuristic aspect about 7.
Right.
9 went more back into the the old classic airships and all that shit.
Right.
So I would have to go with 7, being my favorite PlayStation.
Fair enough.
I mean, to me, 7, getting to that, the thing that always sticks out to me is when you're leaving Midgar for the first time.
Right.
Yes.
You
right.
enter the
you
world
think
map.
the game's over. So you're like,
Yeah, like how it is.
literally feels like the game just takes place entirely in Midgar. And then when you leave it, you're like, holy
There's
shit.
more?
There's so much more.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I felt.
And
And
then-
just how
Yeah.
that camera shot of just how it's showing Midgar out as the main theme of Final Fantasy 7 plays
Mhm.
as you're looking out or whatever. I still get chills about it. I will
love
never
me
forget
too.
that experience
Love
when
that
it was
game.
there that I was like, that's how you do a map.
Yeah.
How you enter the world map.
I'm
and
going
that
to
sort
have
of thing for the first
to
time.
I'm going to have to mute Gall's mic because he keeps making me want to play all these Final Fantasy games. Now I want to play 7. It's like I'm going to have to play 6
man.
and 7 now.
I'm so sorry. I'm filling up your list. Mike.
That's all right, dude. I'm just fucking with you, man. I love you. All right, Dark, you're up, man. Favorite
I guess
PS1
what I
game
think,
and why?
I think
think-
it's Symphony of the Night.
No,
I do too. Look at his title.
I think if I go PlayStation 1, it's going to have to be Star Ocean 2 because that was the game that got me into the JRPG series as a kid, and it was the first
Nice.
game that I owned that was like 2 fucking discs. So,
Right.
and I know I believe they they made so much fit onto 2 fucking discs to the point. I mean, I booted up the game. I remember booting up the game. I chose Clyde. I chose, I went on to the story, and the first thing that happens is you go fight this big ass gorilla, and I'm like, fuck, I'm about to die. But then you see this beautiful ass forest after you kind of get to see the forest a little bit as you fight. After the fight, I mean, then you see the second character and blah blah blah. But once you get into the world map and further on to the game up until this 2, this world map is beautiful. The characters are interesting and stuff like that. Then you get to this 2. There's a point or there's a thing that you can do at disc 2 where you can actually go back to disc 1 theoretically. But you go back to the world of disc 1 and you have all this bonus content. You got the bonus dungeon, you got the trials and tribulations or cave of trials, depending on the translation or which version you play. But you got all that shit that goes with it. And the it's funny because the cave, you got like 3 different bosses. You got Gabriel, Celeste, then you got Ethereal Queen. At the Ethereal Queen, you got the Devil Ethereal Queen with her other side, which is
Wow.
even fucking harder. Then there's something you can do in the game if you do the sequence right in the first part of the game, in the first disc of the game, and click, you can actually do a little thing where you can make the true final boss of the game. You can remove his limiter, make him even more powerful. And this is
nice.
this is on every fucking mode. So you're talking about
Wow.
the game is already hard as fuck on the very first mode.
Right.
Then you got more modes, universal or universe mode. That shit is just ridiculous. And that gave me so much challenge to it that I got to play that game over and over so much.
Wow.
Because there was so much to do
Nice.
on 2 discs.
2 discs. Nice. Very cool.
I like that customization in games. I like that fact that you can kind of really get into like how you can play the game and what kind of stipulations you can have. That's the kind of thing I really enjoy. It really makes it like you can always have a new experience, in different ways of how you're going about it. I love it.
Very cool. Very cool. Oh, I guess it's up to me now.
Yeah, Bud, what's
Favorite
yours?
Yeah, Bud.
PS1 game and why? Well, God damn it,
Symphony of
Chard,
the
you
Night.
picked mine. But I'm going to say it anyway. So 2 of us have it. Final Fantasy VII, definitely hands down my favorite PS1 game. It was my first Final Fantasy game. There's actually a story behind me playing that. I actually, it was me and my girlfriend at the time. We were, we had an apartment and we had a roommate. And I had a Nintendo 64, and our roommate, she had a PS1, and she would play my 64, and I would play her, PS1 and stuff. And she had Final Fantasy VII, and it was like she left it running one day, so I went and I started playing the damn thing. Of course, her game was saved, so I was able to start my own, and I just instantly fell in love with it. And then I was playing through it. I got up to disc 2, and our roommate said, "Whoop, I got a boyfriend now. I'm moving out." So she moved out with her PlayStation 1, and I'm sitting there halfway through the fucking, like a third of the way through the game, and I'm like, so I was like, oh my God.
I'll trade you the 64 for your PlayStation 1.
Nope, that wasn't happening. So I ended up packing up my Nintendo 64 and all my games, and I went to GameStop, and I just traded that sucker in and bought a refurbished PS1 with Final Fantasy VII and a memory card, and I think maybe another game, I don't know. And I never looked back. I was like, nope, I'm a PlayStation guy now, and I was PlayStation all the way through because Final Fantasy VII got me off of the Nintendo teat and got me onto the PS1 like an adult.
Who remembers memory cards?
Yeah, I remember memory cards.
I do.
Memory cards.
I still have them.
Well, I got my PS1. I got a PS1 over there, but I don't have the memory card, and it's in a drawer somewhere. But
I actually have like 4 of these now.
I just have the one. Yeah. Those 8 megabyte memory cards and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, those are great. Yeah. All right, so looks like we got one. Yeah, we're going to be wrapping up, Lee. Don't worry. We got one last question here for Ghal from Quirky, and he asked, Ghal, have you ever thought about streaming?
Actually, that has been something that I have been asked a number of times actually about, and my answer to that is I definitely am open to it, but I definitely need to be in a better place than I am right now. I don't really have the tools, if you will, to make it what I would like to see. From what I've seen from all of you guys who do excellent streamers, best streamers on Twitch, if I was to stream, I want to meet that kind of quality. I want to be, that I'm able to make it where I can give all the ASMRs that Angelo wants, and all those particular things that everybody longs for with gaming and all that sort of stuff. So it's definitely something that I have considered, Quirky. It's definitely on the list, and it's something that, again, another of those things that I never would have considered when I was younger. I was like, yeah, I would never, I could never see myself doing it, but it's because of great people showing me how it could be and what kinds of things you could do with it. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And I could definitely see myself being one someday. Hopefully not too far from now.
I could definitely see you being one too, Ghal. I think you would be very good at it. I think it would be fantastic, as a matter of fact. And also bear in mind that if you ever have any questions along the way about how to get started or how to do it or equipment setup or anything, you got at least 3 people right here on the screen with you that would be willing to help you out. Myself, I'm here anytime. DM me. I could talk to you on voice chat. We'll get you hooked up, man. We'll get you going. And
you all.
don't think you have to be
following.
Yeah, so. Don't think you have to be at a pro level to start either. Just you start where you're comfortable and grow from there. We all start from humble beginnings. I started speaking on I showed that before. I don't have it in front of me, but I started talking into a voice recorder when I started streaming. So I mean, we could make things happen, and you could definitely do it. You're I think you would surprise yourself, and I think nobody else would be surprised because we all think you'd do great.
Yep.
Thank you guys.
Great.
Yeah, I got people in chat saying the same thing too.
Yep.
Because we all love you, man. We all love you. All right. Okay, guys, I think we're going to need to wrap it up here. This is definitely our longest podcast ever. One of our best ones. Even though I'm going to say it again, this is one of our best podcasts. I say it every time, but you just keep doing great ones, so I can't help it. When we have one that sucks, I'll point it out. But we haven't had one that sucks yet, so there's that. So guys, thank you all for hanging out. I'll let you guys have some final thoughts here in a second, but I just want to say thank everybody at home for hanging out. We really love doing these podcasts. It's so much fun. I learned so much just by talking to these wonderful folks. And I always come away from this learning something, and I always come away from this feeling a very strong warmth in my heart for the community. And I'm so grateful to everybody that agreed to do this with me. And I'm humbled by everybody that has participated. You guys are so freaking amazing. It's just wonderful. Next week, we're going to be putting me in the hot seat. It seems like I reluctantly agreed to be the focus of next week's podcast. I didn't want to do it at first because I thought it was cringy, but these guys made some excellent points in that, hey, bud, if you don't have a highlight episode, then you are robbing us of the opportunity to ask you questions. And I was like, exactly. I can't argue with that. So join us next week for the podcast when I myself will be in the hot seat and I will be the focus of it. And these guys will be asking me questions. Yeah, and they're going to be probably teasing the shit out of me. So expect a lot of laughter.
You're doing enough already,
because they already do already. But don't forget the podcast. If you missed it, or if you're just joining us, or if you just want to hear it again, it will be on YouTube tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time, as well as all the podcast platforms. We're talking iTunes, Pocket Casts, Spotify. It's on all of them via Anchor. So you can listen in the car. You could watch us on YouTube at work. Just don't get caught. And or however you enjoy podcasts. So thank you all so much for hanging out. Anybody have any final thoughts? We'll go around, starting with you, Captain Dart.
Ghal, you are an amazing person. I don't think you've ever been in my channel, so I can't speak much else. But you are an amazing person, and just listening to you talk, it makes me want to know more about you. And I do also look forward to you streaming one day so I can catch those. I see Char put your YouTube channel, so I'll probably go through that. That's what I was looking at.
Yeah. Sub to his YouTube channel.
Yep, already got it.
Thank you so much, Dark. I absolutely look forward to us continuing to work together and to discover more about each other. It's always a pleasure.
Very cool. Very cool. We'll go with you, Chart. Any closing thoughts?
Oh shit. You know how much I love Gal. Gal is he's my buddy. He's my brother. He truly is. I mean, I know we live on literally opposite ends of this state, but whenever Gal comes into my channel, from the day he came over from Max's stream to mine, I've been so fucking pumped that it's flattering for somebody who has the knowledge base and nobody knows to entertain somebody that has all that stuff, and the fact that he keeps coming back and keeps hanging out, and we've become so close, and we're doing this podcast together, it's huge. And I love you, dude. I really do. I cannot talk highly enough about how important you are to my stream and to Twitch in general. And I know I speak for a lot of people that agree that you're not just the Oracle, you're like everybody's brother and friend. So thank you for being a part of all of this and everything that you do. You are truly an amazing individual.
Chard, I can't really find the words to say in response, but let me say that I love you absolutely the same, brother. And it's always been a pleasure. I am humbled to be your mod and to be your friend. And I hope for many more years of that going forward.
It's never going to change, my friend. Never going to change.
I love this. I'm going to say a few words real quick, then I'll let Ghal have the last final say, since he is our special guest. Ghal, I mirror everything that Chardmug just said. I feel like you've been such a integral part of a lot of our communities, and you're almost like a household name to everybody in this community, and I do think of you as a brother. I think of you as a friend, and I love you dearly. I'm so glad that you're a part of this podcast and a part of this community, and I hope we have many, many years of friendship to come, and don't ever change, man.
Thank you.
No problem. And we'll let you have the final word.
What you got, buddy?
Wow. Well, how do I follow? I mean, I'm absolutely overwhelmed, just by, again, as I said before, and I kind of said it before about that, a lot of times I see people tell me how much, that I'm always coming in and showing the love, and that, I'm always, that, part of the community. But for me, what always has stood out to me has been always the welcoming warmth and hand of everybody that whenever I come into the chat, whenever I'm, you know, in any stream I'm with, that there's always, you know, that happiness that comes with of me being a part of the community and just being, you know, happy to see, you know, what I can do about it. And that's always been something that has pushed me and always given me such, you know, strength to, you know, put forth and pay it forward in the best way that I can with helping you guys, not just with video games and everything, but just having fun, just us, you know, escaping from, you know, the rigors of everyday life and just, you know, enjoying each other's company and the things that we love and cherish. And, you know, if I can continue to do that, you know, that's what I'll always be. That's what I'll always dedicate myself to. And, you know, as I hope, you know, from this podcast, you know, going forward, you know, that's always going to be, you know, what I look forward to. And I hope we can have, you know, a ton of great conversations about just those kinds of things that we all love, you know, video games on. And thank you for having me.
Oh, anytime, man. Thank you for being here, dude. And those final thoughts spoke to me very deeply, man. You did fantastic. You were a wonderful guest.
G-O-A-T.
Greatest of all time.
G-O-A-T.
G-O-A-T. I agree. Ghal, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for being a guest. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Chardma, Captain Dark, thank you guys as always for being awesome. We'll be back next week with me as the special guest. I'm not nervous. You're nervous. Okay, so we'll see you guys. Woo! Take care. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye now.
Shit, Paul made it.